Bob left, so thanks, Bob. Congratulations, Mark. And now to present our second Joe Sinnott Hall of Fame Award, Art Inkwell contributor and the barbarian himself, Dan Pinocha.
Hi, everybody. Let's see if this mic works here. The winner, did we mention?
No.
The winner for this year is Scott Williams. Now, he can't make it. He's got some family issues. But I'm honored to accept the award for him. It's kind of a big deal for me. When I got into the business, in high school and grew up looking at Bob McLeod's work, and I did backgrounds for Mark McKenna.
True.
I inked Scott Hanna. So I might be one of the guys who's talking about where he was in Inkwell and all that. It's a real honor to actually be speaking on behalf of inking, because I wouldn't be where I am without this job. And particularly when I first saw the work of Scott Williams, I was in the office all the time, like Mark, and they couldn't kick me out. I would literally be in there, and this would never happen now, especially with Disney owning Marvel. But I would be in there, be no security. I'd be working in the bullpen, trying to get pages done, and I started seeing Scott's work coming in, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with Scott Williams' work, and his Z line and the work with Jim Lee and Bill Spataccio, they kind of created their own style. And I was 21 years old. I'd never seen anything like that. And I would look at these Xeroxes and study more of the original pages and sneak into Ralph Macchio's office and study these things. And I went so far as to take the originals and I would blow them up because there's so much line work and cross-hatching and little Z lines and all these things. I blow them up like 200, 300 times, and it just looked like pop art at that point because there wasn't even a face. It was just all a mishmash of lines, and my little brain's trying to figure out how to do that, to mimic it, and doing all these things, and then all of a sudden everybody started really taking to that new line work that resulted in kind of the image house look. Just like Marvel always had like a house look with Joe Sinnott, basically his inking and that kind of style, and a mix between John Buscema and Jack Kirby, this kind of house look. The Marvel look and the image look turned into this look that was designed primarily by Scott Williams and defined by Scott Williams inking. In fact, a lot of times pencils would come into the Marvel offices and they go, well, we got to give it this look. So put some of these Z lines on there that Scott Williams did. Well, being very enterprising when I was young, I got one of these jobs and I took to that like crazy. And I was probably one of the first guys that would really mimic him and just basically copy the way Scott Williams inked. And I did that for a long time, and I got to that because I did well. But he really changed the business, and the guy will always go down, and he's still turning in top quality, remarkable work over all the best guys. And the last thing I'll mention is one time, I think Bob Harris, who's now the editor-in-chief of DC, was now he put together an X-Men issue where they got a whole bunch of different pencilers, and just like Scott and Bob and Mark were saying, Scott went in there and put his own slant on all these different pencilers for this one jam issue, but he still had like immense respect for all the styles. It was very interesting to see his range and how adaptable he was, but still gave his look his signature look. So, on behalf of Scott Williams, I humbly accept this. No, all right. I love the award. Did he send it to you?
Yeah, I thought I sent it to you.
He was quite thrilled. He did email me.
Yeah, he did send a statement, which I thought I sent to Dan, so I might have messed up. But he had some important family obligations on the West Coast.
Oh, no, I know.
He could not get out here. So anyway, we'll get his award shipped out to him. Anyway, where are we? Okay. What is this?
That's what you gave me.
Thank you, Dean.
Thanks, Dan. Joe Sinnott made the following statement. Another year has passed and there are yet 2 more great anchors to be honored in receiving the 2012 Inkwell Awards Joe Sinnott Hall of Fame Award. Congratulations go out to Mark McKenna and Scott Williams, who are 2 equally deserving anchors that will receive this award. Many thanks to all the fans that voted for their favorite anchors. Good luck to next year's nominees, as I know there are many more deserving anchors that do a fine job embellishing the penciler's work and arriving at the finished product that we all get to see in print. Jolt and Joe. Woody, class of 2008. Can we have a round of applause for all our winners? There you go.
Thank you, Mark, for being the hero of the day, like I said. Anybody who wants to see Scott Williams' statement, we will have that posted on the Inkwell Award results page in the next week, couple weeks, something like that. We now conclude the awards presentation and allow the audience and the press the opportunity to ask our award recipients or even any of the speakers up here any questions they may have and take photos. Following the Q&A, we will do the ticket drawing for the raffle tickets sold today for the Marvel Comics Herc original published art by Neil Edwards and ink signed and donated by Scott Hanna. You can also donate $15 following the ceremony to the HeroesCon donation drive charity book at our table at Artist Alley. Now for sale while supplies last. They have the results in and all of our donation collections for the past year. Thank you all for coming, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2013. Any questions? Yes.
I'm not sure how it affects any of you gentlemen, but like for instance, I'm a fan of Paul Pelletier, and I bought several pages he did on the recent run in the hall. The published pages, they're separated. The inks are done by someone else and it's separate from the pencil. And I've heard that's becoming a trend. How do you guys feel about that? Because I sort of like seeing them both together. So I own the published pencils, but not the inks.
Okay, I actually work both with on the actual pencils and on a lot of what are called blue scans, where I just get a digital scan of the pencils and then I have to ink it. Each of them has their own challenges. I absolutely prefer the real pencils because you get all the sensitivities, all the delicacy, and I don't care how good the technology is, the blue scans still tend to lose some of the detail, they lose some of the soul of the artist. Like you don't have the pressure on the page, you don't have the hand on the page.
Or the stroke. You don't have the stroke.
So I actually have to treat blue lines almost a bit more like we would do finishes, where it actually is incumbent on the inker to really go back in and add what the computer lost. And so it's actually tricky, and it's actually a lot easier, I think, to do a bad job on blue lines. However, it enables me to work with like people from Spain or Brazil or Turkey that it takes too long to ship original artwork all the way from Turkey to Pennsylvania, or from Brazil to Pennsylvania. So instead of like waiting a week and a half and blowing the deadline, I get the pages instantly and can turn them around right away. But it's one of those hot or cold things. It's I know, especially for collectors, it's really tough because it's like, okay, wait, the ink version is what got printed, but the pencil version was what it was based on. So I know a lot of collectors are trying to get one of each sometimes, or they have to make a choice which one they want to get. As an inker, obviously, I've always loved the finished quality of the black line, how clean it is, how sharp it, and every good inker I know tries to treat the black and white image as the finished product. We know we're intending it to be colored after us when it's not a black and white book, obviously. Actually, Dan and I started doing black and white books, so what we did was the end product.
What was in the top?
Yeah,
You looked at the top.
Was that, I'm just curious, does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, I was just generally thoughts on how you felt about that.
Yeah, we don't like it.
That's a general, no